teacher framed me to hide how he was treating his daughter, one of my classmates, at home. So I risked everything to protect her and my parents, and I uncovered a school-wide cover-up that ended with his crazy downfall. I was 12 when Mr. Crow first told me he was kicking me out of his class for good. He packed up my things for me and made a show of tossing my bag onto the floor and telling me to go to the office. I was humiliated, but even more than that, I was confused. I'd never had any behavior problems and was a great student. Even got 100% in my math test the day before. But then, right as I was leaving, I saw something. My classmate Lily, Mr. Crow's daughter, she'd gotten 98% in the same test and was already packing her things to move into my seat. When I arrived at the principal's office, my parents were already there, looking ready for war. The second I sat down, the principal told us he was willing to overlook my inappropriate conduct with a first grader and not expel me. All I had to do was move class. Thankfully, my parents are no pushovers, and they grilled him demanding details about this alleged conduct. Of course, the principal folded like a napkin and couldn't provide anything. Still, he was the principal, and so he told my parents I was either moving class or he would expel me. I remember going back that day, indeed to a different class, and it's during lunch that the next strange thing happened. Lily approached me. She'd never spoken a word to me, and sometimes literally cried if we got test scores back and mine was higher. I was expecting her to gloat, but instead she looked at me with these teary eyes and said, "Please tell Mr. Crow you cheated on that test." I was taken aback. Why would I do that? Because he hits me when I'm not number one. My eyes went wide. She pulled up her sleeve and showed me the bruises. And to make it even worse, she told me Mr. Crow doesn't even give her food unless she's number one. She said she hasn't eaten in 3 days and feels like passing out. I remember hugging her and telling her we had to go to someone, but that's when she started bawling. She begged me to not tell anyone, especially the principal. She'd already tried that. It only made things worse for her. I told her we'd figure out something else instead. I gave her the rest of my lunch in secret, then wasted no time going to Mr. Crow, where I confessed to cheating. He basically leapt out of his chair with joy. That's how I found myself in the principal's office for the second time that day. My parents weren't even informed, and because I was a 12-year-old alone in the office with 2 adult bullies, they took advantage of me. They described in detail what would happen if I kept cheating, told me how they'd expel me, and full on said that the boys in the rougher schools nearby would love a girl like me. I remember going home terrified, and the first thing I did was tell my parents everything, from what Lily to what the principal both said. My mom almost had a heart attack. She started immediately emailing the principal demanding a meeting, and the next morning I woke up to my dad holding 2 lunches. Give this one to Lily, then tell her to come over to our house after school. I did exactly that. I still remember how she damn near cried when she saw that she was getting a full peanut butter sandwich to herself. After school I brought her home, where my parents let her have a hot shower. Turns out Mr. Crow didn't allow those either. Fed her and got as many details as possible. Turns out not only would Mr. Crow deny her food and lay hands on her, he'd also force her to stay awake all night studying, denying her sleep. On top of that, she wasn't allowed friends, wasn't allowed to leave the house. Her only purpose in life was to be number one in school. She told us she hasn't gone to the doctors in over a year. Last time she did, she was told she was dangerously underweight, so Mr. Crow took her home and never brought her back. My parents wanted to call CPS immediately, but Lily stopped them. I already did last year. They did nothing. She cried, explaining that when she reported it, the agent who came around was Mr. Crow's brother. He just jotted down on Lily's file that she was lying for attention and that her home was safe. Our hearts broke. We weren't sure of what to do, but after thinking about it for a minute, we came up with a plan. The very next day, my parents and I went in to meet with the principal. My mom absolutely ripped him a new one because of the comment he made to me, and even bluffed to him that I had an audio recording of it. I didn't, but he clearly bought it. His face went white and he asked us what we wanted. My parents' demand was simple: keep me in Mr. Crow's class. Nothing else. He agreed immediately. Of course, Mr. Crow was far from happy about it, but I didn't care. All I cared about was helping Lily. And over the next few weeks, I became her best and only friend. I'd bring her packed lunches, feminine hygiene products. She'd tell Mr. Crow she was going to the library after school, then come to my house where she'd shower, eat, and play video games with me. She started looking a bit brighter as time went on, all while my parents started contacting lawyers in secret. But then, just as we were getting close to compiling a legal case, the worst happened. Me and Lily were walking back to my house, and Mr. Crow followed us. He cornered us during a part of the walk that didn't have any houses or people around, and sternly told Lily she was coming with him. "Please, Dad, you're coming with me," he yelled at her. Well, that's when Lily, for the first time ever, made a decision. "No, I'm not go." Slap. Her attempt to stand up for herself was interrupted by his hand beating her face. She fell to the ground as red started pouring out of her mouth, and he bent down to grab her arm and began pulling her away. I remember yelling after him, even hitting his leg, but he wouldn't budge. He turned back and shoved me to the floor, then proceeded to drag the unconscious Lily for a quarter of a mile back to his car. I scrambled up from the ground with scraped palms, watching Mr. Crow's car disappear while frantically calling my parents on my cell phone. My voice shook as I described Lily being dragged away unconscious. The blood from her mouth had left a trail on the pavement, and I couldn't stop staring at it. My parents arrived within minutes to find me sobbing on the sidewalk. Mom immediately called 911 while Dad photographed the blood trail on the pavement where Lily's mouth had bled. The blood had pooled in a strange pattern that looked almost like a small handprint, which made my stomach turn. The police arrived and attempted a welfare check, but Mr. Crow answered the door claiming Lily was just resting after a fall. Without visible injuries or Lily's testimony, they couldn't force entry. While the officers were still talking to him, my phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Crow saying Lily had fallen and was resting at home. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. As we stood there feeling helpless, an elderly neighbor approached us. Mrs. Chen whispered that she'd seen things through her window and had recorded Mr. Crow dragging Lily on her doorbell camera. Her hands trembled as she spoke, glancing nervously toward the Crow house. My family drove to the Crow house to check on Lily as I begged them to go immediately. As we got in the car, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number that made my blood run cold. It said I'd been seen talking to police and to stop now or she'd get hurt worse. We arrived at the Crow house where all curtains were drawn shut. Dad knocked on the door but got no answer, while Mom noticed Lily's bedroom window had new boards nailed across it from the inside. The sight of those boards made me feel sick. Through a gap in the living room curtains, I spotted Mr. Crow destroying something in the fireplace. It looked like Lily's notebooks and the lunch bags I'd been giving her. My heart sank as I watched the evidence of our friendship burn. Mr. Crow suddenly appeared at the window, making eye contact with me before slowly closing the gap in the curtains. His shirt had blood spatter on the collar, and his expression was completely calm, which terrified me more than anger would have. Within an hour, my parents received calls from 3 school board members expressing concern about my ongoing behavioral issues and false accusations. They spoke in careful, measured tones that suggested they'd been coached on exactly what to say. My best friend Emma texted that her mom, who worked at the school, said my family was causing trouble, and Emma couldn't hang out with me anymore. The isolation tactics were starting already, just like we learned about in health class. Mrs. Chen secretly provided her doorbell footage showing clear assault and kidnapping, giving my family the first concrete evidence. The footage also revealed 3 previous incidents of Lily being dragged inside over the past 2 months, each time looking more injured than before. Mr. Crow's teaching assistant, Miss Martinez, approached my mom at the grocery store the next day. She glanced around nervously before whispering that she'd been documenting things for months. Her eyes darted constantly toward the door as she spoke. My aunt called my mom demanding to know why our family was attacking a grieving widower trying to raise his daughter alone. The conversation grew heated as Mom tried to explain what we'd witnessed, but my aunt wouldn't listen. Later that evening, I discovered an old email from Lily in my spam folder. It had been sent from a library computer and begged for help, but said please don't tell anyone because he reads all her messages. The timestamp showed 2 a.m. on a school night, which meant she'd snuck out just to send it. Mr. Crow called my father's workplace the next morning, claiming our family was harassing him and threatening legal action if we didn't stop stalking his home. Dad's boss pulled him aside for an uncomfortable conversation about maintaining professional boundaries. I was suspended from school for continued disruptive behavior, despite not even being in Mr. Crow's class anymore. The principal cited safety concerns, but couldn't provide specific examples when my parents pressed for details. Our family's pastor refused to help when we approached him, saying Mr. Crow was an upstanding church member and suggesting we needed counseling for our anger issues. His own daughter was in Lily's class, which might have influenced his response. Mom decided to park outside the Crow house during school hours to watch for any signs of Lily. She documented everything in a notebook, noting the times when curtains moved or when Mr. DeCrow left and returned. During her surveillance, Mom talked to another elderly neighbor who mentioned her friend had moved away after Mr. DeCrow threatened legal action for spreading rumors. She kept saying he was dangerous, but no one had listened, the neighbor explained with tears in her eyes. 3 teachers approached my parents separately over the next few days, each mentioning they'd noticed things about Lily, but were told by administration to mind their own business. One teacher's eyes welled up with tears as she spoke about her concerns. A pattern emerged as we reviewed Lily's attendance records. Her absences always followed days when she scored below 100%, marked as sick by Mr. DeCrow, who somehow always had doctor's notes ready. The consistency was too perfect to be natural. The school janitor, Mr. Ruiz, slipped a note to my mom one afternoon. It simply said he had keys to the back entrance and could help tonight because she needed help. His willingness to risk his job spoke volumes about what he'd witnessed. Dad's coworker mentioned his wife was a social worker, though not with CPS, and agreed to help document everything properly for future action. He explained mandated reporter responsibilities and how to build a case the right way. Mr. DeCrow filed a restraining order against our family, but it was delayed when the judge required an evidence hearing due to our counterfiling of abuse documentation. The legal system was moving slowly, but at least it was moving. Miss Martinez met with our family at a diner outside of town. She showed us photos of Lily's deteriorating condition over the months, documenting weight loss, bruises hidden by long sleeves, and increasingly hollow eyes. Each photo was dated and showed a clear progression of abuse that made my parents gasp. Mr. DeCrow started dating my favorite teacher, Ms. Garcia, who suddenly became cold toward me. She avoided eye contact in the hallways and seemed nervous whenever he appeared at school. The change happened overnight, transforming her from my biggest supporter to someone who actively avoided me. I recognized the isolation tactics from our health class lessons on abuse. My composition notebook became my lifeline as I documented every interaction, every slight, every attempt to discredit our family. The pages filled quickly with timestamps and observations. Mrs. Chen's daughter worked as a nurse at the local hospital. She revealed that Lily had been brought in 6 months ago with suspicious injuries, but Mr. Crow had convinced the staff she was just clumsy. The nurse had kept copies of the x-rays showing old fractures in various stages of healing. Her hands shook as she handed over the evidence. Emma defied her mother's orders and slipped me a note during passing period. She'd found something hidden in a library book that Lily had returned the previous week. The message, written in crayon on a paper towel, revealed that Lily was locked in the basement. The note warned that calling police would get her called. My blood ran cold as I read those desperate words. Our family backed up all documented evidence on multiple flash drives, distributing them among trusted friends. This precaution proved wise when we received a cease and desist letter from Mr. Crow's attorney threatening legal action for defamation and harassment. Another police visit resulted in an officer speaking briefly with Mr. Crow at his doorstep. He claimed Lily was too ill to come to the door, and the officer accepted this explanation without insisting on a visual welfare check. The system continued to fail her at every turn. My parents built trust with other concerned parents through careful one-on-one conversations at soccer practice and the grocery store. These quiet discussions revealed a pattern of fear surrounding Mr. Crow. One parent admitted their child was terrified of him, but had been too scared to speak up. Late one night, Dad conducted reconnaissance around the Crow house. He discovered the basement window had been painted black from the inside. More disturbing were the condensation patterns on the painted glass, suggesting someone's breath against the window from inside. The implications made us all sick. Mom's research through school records revealed that Mr. Crow was a widower. This discovery led to contact from his sister-in-law Sarah, who had heard rumors about our efforts. She revealed that his wife's death had been suspicious, but no autopsy was ever performed. The pieces of a darker puzzle began forming. Instead of confronting Mr. Crow publicly, my parents continued gathering allies quietly. This approach earned respect from those who might have dismissed us as troublemakers. The principal's secretary began accidentally leaving certain doors unlocked during our visits, a silent show of support. Lily's birthday approached in 3 days. If she didn't appear for her class party, even Mr. Crow wouldn't be able to explain away her absence. The countdown added urgency to our efforts as we knew time was running out. Miss Martinez risked her job by revealing she'd heard Lily screaming from a locked closet during lunch period. Mr. Crow had claimed it was audio from a health education video, but she'd recorded the sounds on her phone. The recording captured desperate cries that no video could replicate. A concerned parent spotted Mr. Crow purchasing heavy-duty locks and chains at the hardware store. His agitated behavior caught their attention, and they overheard him muttering about preventing another escape. The implications of those words chilled everyone who heard about it. Our family rejected Mr. Crow's offer to drop everything if we moved away, and signed a non-disclosure agreement. His response was to threaten that Lily would pay for our stubbornness. Dad's fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white, but he maintained his composure. The school board president's wife pulled Mom aside at a coffee shop. She whispered urgently about an emergency meeting scheduled for the following night. Her message was clear. The community knew the truth and was ready to act. Mr. Ruiz, the janitor, made his promised discovery. Hidden in the school's ventilation system, he found Lily's journal detailing 2 years of escalating abuse. The final entry consisted of just 7 words that haunted us all. The pages documented horrors no child should endure. The truth about Mr. Crow's influence became clearer. His control extended only to the principal, his brother at CPS, and 2 school board members who owed him unspecified favors. The web of corruption was smaller than we'd feared, but still formidable. A breakthrough came when the nurse provided complete medical records showing the pattern of Lily's injuries. She mentioned something that made our worst fears concrete. During Lily's last emergency room visit 6 months ago, a pregnancy test had been ordered, but Lily disappeared before results could be obtained. The timeline suggested possibilities too horrible to voice. Our family faced mounting financial strain as Dad's hours were reduced due to the harassment at his workplace. Mom sold her grandmother's jewelry to pay for legal consultations. Despite the pressure, they refused to back down. The stress brought our family closer together. My little brother started sleeping in my room with his baseball bat, determined to protect me. His innocent bravery both touched and worried me as I realized how deeply this situation affected everyone. Mr. Crow's brother approached us with an offer to make everything disappear for $10,000. My parents' refusal to accept his bribe demonstrated the moral high ground they were determined to maintain throughout this ordeal. A direct confrontation occurred when we encountered Mr. Crow at the grocery store. The pressure caused his mask to slip as he accidentally admitted that Lily needed discipline. His immediate attempt to retract the statement came too late. Multiple witnesses had heard him claim she was his to do with as he pleased. Multiple teachers came forward with their personal observation notes, secretly kept over months. These documents corroborated the timeline of Lily's declining condition, providing crucial evidence of the systematic nature of the abuse. Miss Martinez quit her position publicly during a staff meeting. Her announcement that she could not work for a child abuser caused shocked silence throughout the room. Her courage inspired others to stop looking away. Momentum shifted dramatically when 7 families met secretly to discuss the pattern of fear surrounding Mr. Crow. One parent broke down during the meeting, admitting they'd suspected abuse but had done nothing. The weight of collective guilt transformed into determination for action. A local news reporter began asking questions around the school after receiving an anonymous tip. Though no story had aired yet, Mr. Crow's increasing agitation showed he knew the walls were closing in. Cornered at a gas station, Mr. Crow let another piece of his mask slip. He told Dad that Lily was never going to amount to anything anyway before catching himself. The callousness in those words revealed his true nature to anyone still harboring doubts. The principal's secretary began openly supporting our family, providing documents about previous complaints that had been buried. Her files revealed 3 other families had raised concerns over the past 5 years, all silenced or dismissed. A travel agent who knew our family mentioned a disturbing encounter. She'd seen Mr. Crow inquiring about the quickest flights to non-extradition countries while claiming to plan a vacation. His nervous behavior and specific questions raised red flags. Sarah provided the most damning evidence yet. Her sister, Mr. Crow's late wife, had been documenting his controlling behavior before her death. Photos of bruises and fearful diary entries painted a picture of escalating domestic violence. The final entries revealed she'd been planning to take Lily and leave. Our family ensured other vulnerable students in Mr. Crow's class were monitored by trusted parents. A phone tree system allowed daily check-ins, creating a safety net that should have existed all along. 23 parents signed a petition demanding Mr. Crow's immediate suspension and investigation. The document was delivered publicly to the school board, making it impossible to ignore or bury like previous complaints. Mr. Crow's attempts to discredit me failed spectacularly when my stellar academic record and character references from other teachers overwhelmed his claims. His frustration grew visible as his usual tactics proved ineffective. The principal finally viewed security footage that Miss Martinez had secretly recorded. The video showed Mr. Crow striking a student in an empty classroom. His hands shook as he realized he'd been enabling a monster. His whispered confession about what he'd allowed to happen showed the weight of his complicity. Community support rallied around our family through meal trains, legal fund donations, and public backing at school board meetings. The groundswell of support made it clear that silence would no longer be tolerated. A CPS worker from a neighboring county reviewed the evidence and confirmed the original investigation had been criminally negligent. Her formal inquiry opened new avenues for justice that Mr. Crow's brother couldn't block. Lily's birthday arrived with Mr. Crow claiming she was visiting relatives. Her classmates knew she had no other family, making his lie transparent. One birthday card left on her empty desk simply asked her to come back. Mr. Crow's true nature revealed itself again when a parent volunteer discovered him roughly grabbing another student. His quick claim of preventing a fall convinced no one who witnessed his aggressive grip and the child's fearful expression. The stakes crystallized as multiple witnesses confirmed Lily's rapidly deteriorating condition in recent sightings. The consensus was horrifying. She might not survive much longer without intervention. I demonstrated maturity by comforting younger students frightened by the situation. My focus remained on saving Lily while helping others process their fears. Their trust reminded me why standing up to evil mattered, even when it seemed impossible. School board members who had protected Mr. Crow faced recall petitions as the community rejected their boys' club mentality. The power structure that had enabled abuse for years began crumbling under public pressure. Truth prevailed when an independent investigation confirmed our timeline of abuse. The mountain of evidence forced authorities to finally act, though bureaucratic delays still hampered immediate intervention. Initial victory came when a judge granted an emergency custody removal order based on accumulated evidence. The relief was tempered by the reality that Lily still hadn't been seen by anyone outside her father's control. Police tracked Mr. Crow's phone to his house after he failed to appear for a scheduled meeting. SWAT units surrounded the home while negotiators attempted to establish contact. The standoff drew concerned neighbors who finally understood the gravity of what they'd ignored. Our family arrived with police backup as the SWAT team prepared to breach the basement door's multiple padlocks. Mr. Crow had barricaded himself inside with Lily, and time was running out. The sound of power tools cutting through metal seemed to take forever as we waited in agonizing suspense for what they would find inside. The SWAT officer's boot connected with the basement door, splintering wood around the multiple padlocks. I gripped Mom's hand as we waited behind the police line, my fingernails digging crescents into her palm. The tactical team disappeared into the darkness below, while radio chatter crackled with updates. A commotion erupted from inside. Officers shouted commands as furniture crashed and glass shattered. My heart hammered against my ribs when an officer emerged carrying Lily's limp form. Her arm dangled at an unnatural angle, and dried blood crusted around her mouth and nose. The friendship bracelet I'd given her months ago still circled her wrist, now stained and frayed. Paramedics rushed forward with a stretcher while Mr. Crow emerged in handcuffs, his shirt torn and face scratched. He scanned the crowd until his eyes locked onto mine, his expression shifting from rage to something colder. The officer pushed his head down as they loaded him into the patrol car. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to stabilize Lily. Through the small window in the emergency room door, I watched them insert IVs and attach monitors. A nurse emerged periodically to update us, her face grave as she described severe dehydration, malnutrition, and multiple injuries in various stages of healing. The specially trained interviewer arrived within hours. She spent time building trust with Lily before beginning the formal process. Mom held my hand as we waited in the hallway, listening to the muffled sounds from inside the room. When the interviewer finally emerged, her professional composure had cracked. She excused herself to the bathroom, and we heard her crying through the door. Medical examinations revealed the full scope of abuse. The doctor's report documented healing fractures in Lily's ribs and arms, severe vitamin deficiencies from prolonged starvation, and scarring consistent with repeated physical trauma. He noted it was the worst case of child abuse he'd encountered in 3 decades of practice. The evidence package our family had compiled proved invaluable. Prosecutors organized each piece chronologically: the doorbell footage, medical records, teacher testimonies, and Lily's hidden journal. Every document bore witness stamps and dates, creating an undeniable timeline of escalating abuse that no defense attorney could dispute. News of Mr. Crow's brother's arrest spread quickly through the courthouse. The CPS agent faced corruption charges after investigators discovered he'd falsified reports on dozens of cases. Each file revealed another child failed by the system, another family silenced by his position of authority. The school board convened an emergency session that evening. Parents packed the auditorium as board members voted unanimously to terminate Mr. Crow immediately. The principal's termination followed, along with mandatory abuse recognition training for all staff. The superintendent announced a complete review of reporting procedures. In custody, Mr. Crow attempted to manipulate the situation. He claimed our family had driven him to extreme measures through harassment. His demands to see Lily one final time were denied, but his lawyer filed motion after motion challenging the emergency custody order. A legal technicality threatened everything. The emergency order had a procedural flaw that Mr. Crow's attorney exploited, arguing his parental rights superseded the temporary removal. The judge scheduled an expedited hearing to determine whether Lily would remain in protective custody or return to her father pending trial. Some community members grew uncomfortable with the scandal's visibility. The school's wealthiest donor approached my parents at the courthouse, suggesting a substantial donation to their chosen charity if they'd handle things quietly without media involvement. Mom's rejection was swift and unequivocal. The closed hearing required my testimony. I sat in the witness chair, gripping the armrests until my knuckles ached, while Mr. Crow stared from the defendant's table. I described finding Lily crying in the bathroom, the bruises hidden beneath long sleeves, the desperate hunger in her eyes when I shared my lunch. My voice cracked when I recounted the blood trail on the pavement. The judge deliberated for what felt like hours. When she returned, her decision was clear. Lily would remain in state custody, placed temporarily with my family as emergency foster parents. Mr. Crow's lawyer immediately filed an appeal citing parental rights violations. The appeal hearing brought everyone to the courthouse. Lily appeared in a wheelchair, still too weak to walk after weeks of starvation and confinement. Her hollow cheeks and bandaged arms provided silent testimony more powerful than any words could convey. Mr. Crow's attorney argued the discipline was within parental discretion. The prosecutor countered with medical evidence documenting systematic torture spanning years. Expert witnesses testified about the long-term psychological damage inflicted through isolation, starvation, and physical abuse. The prosecutor's final piece of evidence changed everything. She presented the sealed autopsy report from Mr. Crow's wife's death, obtained through court order after Sarah's testimony. The medical examiner had found traces of antifreeze poisoning, initially overlooked because no foul play was suspected. Sarah took the stand, producing a letter her sister had mailed before her death. The envelope bore instructions to open only if something happened to her. Inside, Mr. Crow's wife had documented her fear, her plans to leave with Lily, and her suspicion that he might call her, rather than lose control. Our family faced an agonizing choice. The prosecutor offered a deal. Mr. Crow would immediately terminate his parental rights in exchange for the child abuse charges being separated from the murder investigation. This would secure Lily's safety while building the homicide case, but it meant he might temporarily avoid the most serious charges. After hours of discussion, we supported the prosecutor's strategy. Lily's immediate safety outweighed the risk of delayed justice. Mr. Crow smirked as he signed the papers, clearly believing he'd outmaneuvered the system. The judge added an unexpected condition. For the plea to be valid, Mr. Crow must allocute to all charges in open court, describing his crimes in detail. His arrogance crumbled as he realized the trap. His confession would provide evidence for the murder charge. Mr. Crow's voice faltered as he described withholding food, forcing Lily to study through the night, and striking her for scoring below perfect. He admitted to locking her in the basement, boarding her windows, and threatening worse if she sought help. Each word was recorded by the court reporter, witnessed by a packed courtroom. His attorney's attempt to claim coercion failed. The judge noted the confession was voluntary, given in exchange for the plea deal Mr. Acrow had eagerly accepted. The detailed admission provided prosecutors with everything needed to pursue murder charges. I watched officers lead Mr. Acrow away in handcuffs, while the judge formally placed Lily in our family's permanent custody. Adoption proceedings would begin immediately. For the first time since this ordeal began, Lily spoke publicly, her voice barely above a whisper, but clear enough for everyone to hear her say she was finally free. Mr. Acrow's brother accepted a plea deal the following week. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he provided information about other cases of covered-up abuse, leading to investigations across multiple counties. Each file revealed another family failed by corruption. The principal submitted his resignation before the school board could formally terminate him. The superintendent implemented sweeping reforms with input from our family and other advocates. New reporting procedures, mandatory training, and regular audits would prevent future cover-ups. Lily's healing process began immediately. Doctors addressed her complex medical needs, while therapists specialized in trauma worked to undo years of psychological damage. Physical therapy helped her regain strength after prolonged malnutrition. She smiled for the first time at our dinner table when my little brother offered her his dessert. The community established new child protection protocols. Mandatory training sessions filled the school auditorium as teachers learned to recognize and report abuse. A memorial garden for Mr. Acrow's wife was planted near the school entrance, with a plaque honoring those who speak up for children who cannot speak for themselves. 5 years passed. I stood next to Lily at our high school graduation, watching her adjust her valedictorian sash. She'd chosen to speak about survival, courage, and the power of refusing to look away from injustice. Her acceptance letter to study social work lay folded in her pocket, a full scholarship to help other children as I'd helped her. Mr. Acrow served life without parole for his wife's murder, while our community had transformed into a model for child protection. The graduation program noted Lily's academic achievements but couldn't capture her true victory, reclaiming a future that had once seemed impossible.